It physically pained me to just recommend Wattpad when I'm an AO3 user. Like, I love AO3 so much. Hi, I'm Claudia, and reading fanfiction for the first time can be terrifying. As someone who only made the switch from Wattpad to AO3 about 18 months ago, the sheer amount of fanfiction can be overwhelming. And for people who have never read fanfiction before, it probably feels like there's no good place to start. So for those of you who have never read fanfiction before, this is a little guide as to how to start without getting too overwhelmed. Why is there a plane going over my head right now? Can you shut up, please? I'm trying to record a video. I'm already on a time crunch and now there's a stupid plane. Because there's all these terms and words people use to describe fanfiction, and if you don't read fanfiction, you won't know what they mean. So here's how you can get started without getting too overwhelmed and starting to panic. Step 1. Start with Wattpad. As much as it pains me to say as a firm AO3 user, Wattpad is just easier to use if you're new to fanfiction. First of all, it's an app rather than a website, and these days people are more inclined to choose apps over websites. I think there might be an unofficial AO3 app, but I don't use it if there is, so I'm not going to talk about it here. Wattpad also has an algorithm, so it learns what you like to read and will recommend you more of the same or something a bit different that it also thinks you'll like. This will help you find the tags that you really enjoy. On AO3, you have to filter by whatever tags you want to read, and if you don't know what tags you like, that's not going to be the easiest thing. Original works are just books people have published on the internet. They're not any kind of fan fiction. They're completely the author's own work. And Wattpad has a pretty good mix of original works and fan fictions. Just so everyone knows, it physically pained me to just recommend Wattpad when I'm an AO3 user. Like, I love AO3 so much. Step 2. Pick a fandom. As tempting as it is to start reading fanfiction for all your different fandoms at once, that's probably not the best idea. I recommend sticking with one fandom at first so you can find out what you like and then apply that to your other fandoms. This works best if you pick a relatively big fandom so you have a lot of choice and you're not going to run out of fics to read. Obviously, within most fandoms, you're going to have a bunch of different ships to choose, and that's fine. I just don't recommend you go for different fandoms at once, because then it can get confusing. When I started reading fanfiction on Wattpad, I exclusively read Harry Potter for the longest time, but that meant I learned what I liked and what I didn't like in a fic, so when I started reading for other fandoms, I could choose the fanfics I knew I would like. Step 3. Learn your terms. If you don't do this, you're going to open a random fic and be absolutely shocked at what you see. And don't worry, I'm not going to send you anywhere else to learn the terms. I'm going to go through most of them here. The two biggest terms you'll see being used are fluff and angst. Fluff is basically anything happy. It's usually used in romance settings where they're happy and together and everything's going well. Angst is the opposite. Everything's sad, everyone's dying, that kind of thing. So if you want to read a happy fanfic, maybe don't choose one that's tagged with angst. Do you see what I mean? Another big one is smut, which is also sometimes called lemon, especially on Wattpad. This refers to anything explicit. If you're using Wattpad, it has a rating system where the fic will be tagged as mature if it has any of that in it. But be warned, sometimes people forget to tag things as mature, so just keep an eye out for anything explicit. You may also see 18+ warnings in summaries and that kind of thing. Just be aware of them. Another good term to know is canon. Something being canon means it happened in the original book, movie, or TV show that the fandom is based on. For example, Harry Potter is an orphan. That is canon. So if you see something tagged as canon compliant, that means everything that happens in the canon happens in that fic. Whereas non-canon compliant means the opposite, and it means it goes against canon and changes the story. Another good term to know is OC, that stands for original character. If you're looking on Wattpad, most of the time in the title or the summary, it will say it's an XOC fic. And what that basically means is a canon character is being shipped with an original character. I've done a whole video talking about the different kinds of OC fanfics, so I'll put that in the iCard up here. And you can go and watch that if you feel like that's something you want to look more into. But on Wattpad, it will tell you in the title or the summary. On AO3, you'll have to look in the relationship tags. This next term's a good one to know, even though it's not used as much as the other ones I mentioned, and that is HEA. This stands for happily ever after and basically just means the fic has a happy ending. You will also sometimes see no HEA, which is the opposite. It means the fic does not have a happy ending, and obviously you can make your choice as to whether you want to read those kind of fics or not. The last term I recommend for you to learn isn't really a term at all. Basically, it's find out what your favourite ship's ship name is. Most of the time it's just their two names smushed together, but sometimes it's something really out of the blue. Like Wolfstar is Sirius Black and Remus Lupin, which if you know it makes sense, but if you don't know it, you're not going to guess that that's their ship name. I recommend searching by the tag that is just the name of the fandom, and then finding out what your favourite ship's ship name is from that. This also only really refers to Wattpad, where fics are tagged with the ship name. AO3 is a bit different, but I'll go into that in a minute. But if you know the ship name, then on Wattpad you can just search by that tag, and then you can find loads of fics that just have your favourite ship in them, rather than searching through different ships and OC fics and all that kind of thing. Now, there are quite a few downsides to Wattpad. I've made a whole video comparing Wattpad to AO3, I'll put it in the iCard up there. But a couple of the big points are that there's a lot of ads and some things are pay to read. So while I recommend you start on Wattpad, I don't recommend you stay on Wattpad. And that's how we get to step 4. Move to AO3. If you don't know, AO3's full name is actually Archive of Our Own, but everyone calls it AO3 and I will be calling it AO3. Now, the move to AO3 can be daunting. AO3 is a very different site to Wattpad. First of all, it's a website, not an app, which automatically makes some people less inclined to use it. That's one of the reasons why I initially didn't like using AO3, but now I've come around to it, so it's relatively easy to work out once you learn. But before you go onto AO3, you need to learn the AO3 terms. On AO3, when you're looking at your search results, you'll have the name of the fic, the author, a list of tags, and then the summary. Now on Wattpad, the tags are at the bottom and you have to swipe across to the side to view all of them. Whereas on AO3, there's just a big block, and that can be kind of scary. But there are 3 big things you need to know. A slash is a relationship. If you see 2 characters' names with a slash between them, that means they're being shipped in that fic. An ampersand sign, which is that fancy and symbol, I'll put it on screen now, that means a platonic relationship, so that could be family, friends, whatever, but 2 characters' names with an and in the middle is platonic. And I say 2 characters here, you can have tags with 3 or 4 or more characters in them. For instance, if you see 3 characters' names with slashes between them, that's a poly ship. Or you could see 4 characters' names all with ands between them because they kind of have a family dynamic and they all have platonic relationships with each other. But those are 2 of the big things on AO3. The third thing is archive warnings. I go more into detail on archive warnings in my Wattpad versus AO3 video, but basically what you need to know is these refer to the really controversial tags. They'll be in bold at the start of the tag list, so you'll probably see them when you're looking for a fic. But once you get more used to AO3, you might, like me, naturally skip over the bold ones, so just make sure you check them. And if you want more details on this, but you don't want to go watch my video, which is fine by the way, like I'd like it if you went and watched my video, but you don't need to, it's fine, don't worry about it. If you go onto AO3 and search for anything, any fic that comes up will have 4 little squares on the top left hand corner. If you click on those, it will come up with a pop-up telling you what each different square means, and that's basically how you can get your archive warnings, your main ship, and that kind of thing in a small little square. And that's probably your easiest, quickest explanation for them. The last thing I have to say with AO3 is it doesn't recommend you fics, it's literally just a list. So if you want a specific kind of fic, you have to filter by that tag. And obviously if you don't know that tag, then that's a problem, which is why I recommend you start with Wattpad. And I think that's all the steps. The only other thing I have to say is use common sense. Be nice, be kind, don't be mean to anyone. There's not a lot of etiquette as such when it comes to fanfics, but don't leave comments on people's fanfics telling them they're bad. There's no point in that. Someone has written that fanfic because they enjoy it, and even if you don't, they still do, and you don't want to make them feel bad by saying that's a really bad fic. So just leave it, just leave them alone. Abide by the same rules you had when you were a child. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So yeah, if your New Year's resolution for 2025 is to start reading fanfiction, I hope I've given you a good base and a good guide to kind of start. If you have any more questions, you can leave a comment down below and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. I don't know everything, but I will try my best. If you enjoyed this video, I have to do the awkward cringy YouTube thing and ask you to maybe like the video and subscribe. I post a bunch of fanfiction based videos, so if you like that or anything else, because I sometimes post other stuff, you should probably subscribe. You might enjoy it, who knows? And if you want to follow me elsewhere, I have links to my TikTok, Twitter and Blue Sky down below. I don't really use Blue Sky at the minute, but if Twitter dies, that's where I'll be, okay? And I post fanfiction based stuff on my TikTok almost every single day, so if you like fanfiction or you think you might like fanfiction, go follow me on there. And yeah, I've been Claudia, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll hopefully see you all soon. Bye!